The irony behind everything that I've ever said is moments like this when I read through this article that announces that R. Kelly's mansion or former mansion was sold for $1.6 million. And as I scroll on down this article, I spot some interesting propaganda considering a lot of the people that covered the trial, went to the trial physically, reported an interesting detail that has seemed to go over the radar when it came to this journalist and their reporting. Now, according to this article, the witness Navarro, that was R. Kelly's former assistant, testified that all of the women that were in R. Kelly's home were restricted to certain rooms in the home and forbidden from moving freely. Surveillance footage reportedly showed young girls hopping fences in what appeared to be attempts to escape. Now, from what we heard and what we saw demonstrated, it was presented that people like Geronda Pace were hopping the fence in order to get into R. Kelly's home. So those little simple things and play on words are the discrepancies that I feel like a lot of the supporters missed their opportunity in covering this trial, while confusing my position and why it was pertinent to document all the moving pieces that started to emerge from Instagram, Facebook, to YouTube, and all of the discrepancies and missing people from this trial that would have really brought home a RICO in a lot of people's opinions, instead of how they were able to compile these bad act witnesses who got on these platforms and exposed each other, then went in there and was able to convince a jury of their stories without the sufficient evidence. Now, how many geniuses does it take that after you review some of my research that I put out and why I felt it obvious to say it didn't take trying to sue a person like Geronda Pace because we felt like she was not credible? Wouldn't the best defense in trying to impeach these bad act witnesses or to counteract their testimonies would be to bring in a witness and or evidence that would do just that, impeach that testimony? Instead, people got overly offended and thought I was slightly dissing them on my platform because they brought things to me that I found was dumb and said so. How many geniuses does it take that once you track down a witness from Geronda Pace's past back then, who was present when she was at that '08 trial, to put this person in a documentary instead of putting this person on the stand, getting the janky private eye out here to get only 5 witnesses for the defense, and confuse why all these people are janky as hell to me? The gag of it all is while people on the outside can give their opinions of what they think that I'm presenting, they're obviously free to talk about how they feel about what they think that I'm showing you all. But the obvious points that I make is very clear. I wasn't here to try to act like R. Kelly's defense, act like I know the man, get next to people who did know the man, and or put up these united fronts. Even though I don't like the people I'm staging these fronts with, I expose them and confuse the mission at hand. Now, how much common sense does it take to recognize that I don't feel like it is a problem for a person who has guests in their home that obviously isn't the typical home to have boundaries and restrictions, but yet for prosecutors to be able to create this narrative like it's so controlling for him to do this and then put this facade around the purpose. The mere fact that the defense didn't put up too much of a fight on many of the things that they could have, that these people openly put all over these platforms, is what really got me looking at these people with the side eye. Like this goofy old bird who thinks that I'm going to entertain what she thinks I'm going to do when I set the record straight for my viewers as to why I don't take people like her opinion serious, sitting here watching my videos looking for a window to say something stupid. You see, contrary to the beliefs of the people like her and those that like to support those like her and the individuals who came to these platforms doing the most, it should be very clear that my position is that I don't give a shit what these people came on these platforms doing or saying. But at the end of the day, when people present themselves as bloggers to bring forth information, they can sit on here and misconstrue the fact that they came on here for shits and giggles. I came on here and broke through a whole lot of research that a lot of people didn't want to read, when a lot of people didn't want to read the paperwork or wanted to monopolize or scam supporters. But the gag is, like I always said, I even gave you the documents if you wanted them. Yet what I wouldn't do is hold my breath on any hopes that I'd be trying to have a civil conversation with any morons at this particular point, considering they've had years to have civil conversations. But what they wanted to do was get on these platforms for their shits and giggles so they can just stand by.
Time has come for this cookie. Nom nom nom. Oh, nom 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 nom. Ha. Bye bye.